Well, hey students, my name is Will Plunk, and I'm the lead pastor of Grace City Church here in Charleston. It is a church that's a year and a half old. I moved here to start it, and I am excited to be with you and get a chance to talk for a little bit about what it is that I get to do as a pastor and I share with you. Wasn't too long ago since I was in high school. I'm 31, so still young, and have been in vocational ministry for a while. I grew up in Charleston, but then went to Clemson University for school. And while I was there, I majored in economics, which has almost nothing to do with being a pastor. There actually are a handful of connections, I think, especially right now. But I thought I was going to be in business. Particularly, I thought I was going to be in sales. But really, over the course of getting to serve in a ministry and to participate, which I think I got to do some internships, things like that. And those were incredibly helpful for me, but gave me clarity on the fact that I wanted to be in ministry full time as a pastor or work for a nonprofit or something like that. The way that I learned that that was for me though is I served in a ministry, and I was getting from older men and women feedback on who I am, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, and that led me to get an internship at a church, which I did for about 7 years before I moved to Charleston to start this church. I have a bachelor's degree from Clemson University in economics, like I said, a minor in psychology. And I am currently enrolled in seminary now. So I've been taking seminary classes for about 3 years, working on a master's in biblical studies, which will definitely help me with my position as a pastor as I teach on Sunday and things like that. What skills are required to be a pastor? You know, some people say drink coffee a bunch, but it really is a lot more than that. Being a pastor requires a handful of things. It requires organizational leadership because you have to help the church go towards the right direction, accomplish the things that we believe we see in the scriptures, in God's word, in the Bible, and so you got to help lead people in that direction. So it's a lot of leadership, but you're leading volunteers, people who are not paid. So there's a lot of that. People skills are incredibly important because you, as a pastor, there's a lot of counseling that happens. There is a lot of helping people in some of the hardest times of their life, especially right now in the middle of this coronavirus, supporting people financially and trying to learn about what their situation is. People as they have marriage problems, moms as they're raising kids, things like that. We are trying to counsel them. So a lot of interpersonal skills. Communication clearly is an important part of being a pastor. And so that becomes very, very important. Most of my communication skills came from just experience, which I think is huge. So getting that experience where you just build up, you just spend a lot of time in the same thing. Malcolm Gladwell, a leadership guy, says 10,000 hours doing something really helps you become an expert. And so I think getting that experience in the same direction for whatever you want to do, but for me, communication really helped me to be a much better preacher than I would have otherwise been. What does an average day look like for me? It really varies pretty much on what my day is. I definitely am studying for sermons and messages at least 2 to 3 days a week in the morning time. I almost always have a morning meeting and a lunch meeting where I'm meeting with different volunteers leading ministries. And then I have afternoons, which I set aside for things like counseling different people in our church who are going through different things. It also does require looking into the future about where we believe God would be leading us and trying to communicate that to our church family. So that's kind of what an average day might look like. The best part of my job is, truthfully, the best part of my job is just getting to see people grow and change. So I love getting to work with people, even though I'm right on the line between introvert and extrovert. I love getting to work with people, and I get a close up into what's going on in people's lives, hearts, minds, their faith, and I get to see People go from one place in life and then over the course of a year, 2 years, 5 years, just radically change in a number of ways. The kind of wife or husband they are, the kind of student they are, the way they serve the community. I see a bunch of people who are used to living lives focused on themselves go to want to serve the church, but even serve different types of communities, low income, prison population, things like that, which is just incredible to see people change like that. One of the hardest parts of my job is the same thing. It's working with people and seeing people go through some of the hardest times in their life. I will never forget doing a funeral for an 18-year-old boy who died violently in a car crash. And doing that funeral was the hardest thing I've ever done in ministry, because it was trying to provide a level of comfort and love to parents who were having to bury their son. And so being a pastor, you're with people in the highest highs, but you're also with them in the lowest lows. And there's nothing harder than that, I would say. A couple other things. What are your long-term career goals? For me, it is to be planted in the same place for a long time and get to see a family of people, a community. We say we're a family of people who really learn to love God more and love others more. It's really about that simple for me, and that's my goal. Not to grow a big church or anything like that. It really is just to see God change people and to see people love others and help them change and to be more like Jesus. So that's really, to be real, that's what I wake up thinking about. Advice I would give for students in finding a career they love. Know yourself. Know who you are. Get feedback and input from people who love you enough to tell you the truth. Do that. And I promise you it's going to help you find something you love. Because sometimes we love things we're not good at, and then as you try to keep doing it, you ain't going to go well for you. So my encouragement is to get some good experience and get a lot of feedback. Ask for it. Be hungry to get it. Don't stop till you get it. So that's important. What advice would you give students for an interview? Look people in the eyes, shake their hand, sit with them, and come prepared, meaning having thought through questions they might ask. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is the time you've been successful or a time that you've failed? Why should we hire you? Think through those questions. Write some things down. I think that'll serve you tremendously in an interview. What is the job outlook for your profession? And I would just say in ministry, you gotta love people. You gotta be willing to stay with people long term. It's a great thing to do. There's lots of challenges, but it's beautiful. I get to wear a hat when I want to. That's cool. And but yeah, it's great, and I hope this was helpful in some way. And good luck on thinking about what you want to do for a career.